Hello. Hello everybody, welcome back to another stream. Give me a second. Okay, welcome back to yet another stream. Today I will be doing the well-anticipated part 2 of Tommy Orange's There book. It's a book that I have been working on reading for English class, and it's been quite a journey throughout the book. I'm up to page 170 now, and the start is Octavio Gomez. So, let's start the book, shall we? Okay. I have this panda ruler to help me guide me as I read, line by line. And please let me know in the comments, in the chat, if the audio is good for you. I have tried to turn up the audio of my microphone, so hopefully it sounds better. Okay? Here we go. Octavio Gomez. By the time I got back to my grandma, Josefina's house, I could barely stand. She had to drag me up the stairs. My grandma's old and small, and I was pretty big even then. But Fina's strong. She's got that crazy strength that you can't see. It felt like she carried me all the way up the stairs to the extra room and put me in bed. I was hot and cold as fuck, with this deep-ass ache, like my effing bones were being squeezed or drained or effing stepped on. By the way, a note? That slipped a bit. I will try my best to not use swear words. It could just be the flu, my grandma said, like I'd asked her what she thought was wrong with me. Or what? I said. I don't know if your dad ever told you anything about curses. She came over to my bed and felt my head with the back of her hand. He gave me my mouth. Curse words don't count. They can do what they can do, but a real curse is more like a bullet fired from far off. She stood over me, folded a wet towel, and put it on my forehead. There's someone aiming a bullet meant for you, but with that distance. Most of the time it doesn't hit, and even if it hits, it usually won't kill you. It all depends on the aim of the shooter. You said your uncle never gave you anything. You never took anything from him, right? No, I said. We won't know for now, she said. She came back with a bowl and a carton of milk. She poured milk into the bowl, then slid the bowl under my bed, stood up, and walked over to the votive candle on the other side of the room. As she lit the candle, she turned around and looked at me like I shouldn't have been looking. Like I should have my eyes closed. Fina's eyes could bite. They were green like mine, but darker, alligator green. I looked up at the ceiling. She came back over to me with a glass of water. Drink this, she said. My own father cursed me when I was 18. Some old Indian curse my mom told me wasn't real. That was how she said it. Like she knew enough to know it was Indian, and enough to know it wasn't real, but not enough to do anything other than tell me it was an old Indian curse that wasn't real. Fina laughed a little. I handed the glass to her, but she pushed it back toward me like, finish it. I thought I was in love, Fina said. I was pregnant. We were engaged, but he left me. I didn't tell my parents at first, but one night my dad came to me to ask if I would name his grandson. He was sure it would be a grandson. If I would name the boy after him. I told him then that I wasn't getting married, that the guy had left, and that I wasn't going to have the baby either. My dad came after me with a big spoon he sometimes hit me with. He'd sharpen the handle to threaten me with it when he beat me. But this time, He came at me with a sharp end. My mom stopped him. He crossed any line, but not through her. The next morning I found a braid of his hair under my bed. That's where my shoes went. So when I went for them the next morning, I found the braid. When I got downstairs, the mom told me I had to go. Fina walked over to the window and opened it. It's better if we get some air here. The room needs to breathe. I can get you more blankets if you get cold. I'm fine, I said, which wasn't true. A breeze came in, and it felt like my arms and back were being scraped by it. I pulled the blanket up to my chin. This was in New Mexico? Las Cruces, she said. My mom put me on a bus out here to Oakland, where my uncle owned a restaurant. When I got here, I got the abortion. And then I got real sick. Off and on. For about a year. Worse than you are now. But the same kind of thing. The kind of sick that knocks you down and doesn't let you up. I wrote my mom to ask for help. She sent me a clump of fur. Told me to bury it at the western base of a cactus. Clump of fur? About this big. She made a fist and held it up to me for me to see. Did that work? Not right away. Eventually, I stopped getting sick. So was the curse just that you got sick? That's what I thought, but now, with everything that's happened, she turned and looked to the door. The phone was ringing downstairs. I should get that, she said, and stood up to leave. Get some air. Get some sleep. I stretched, and a hard shiver ran through me. I pulled the blankets over my head. This was the part of the fever where you get so cold, you gotta sweat to break it. Hot and cold, with sweat shiver running through and over me. I thought about the night that broke through the windows and walls of our house and brought me to the bed I was doing my best to get better in. Me and my dad had both moved from the couch to the kitchen table for dinner when the bullets came flying through the house. It was like a wall of hot sound and wind. The whole house shook. It was sudden, but it wasn't unexpected. My older brother, Junior, and my uncle Sixto had stolen some plants from someone's basement. They'd come home with 2 black garbage bags full. Hella stupid. That much weight, like some shit, wasn't tied to it. Sometimes I'd crawl through the living room to get to the kitchen or watch TV on my stomach on the floor. That night, whoever got their shit stolen by my stupid-ass brother and uncle, they rolled up to our house, emptied the guns into it, into the life we'd known, the life our mom and dad spent years making from scratch. My dad was the only one to get hit. My mom was in the bathroom, and Junior was in his room at the back of the house. My dad put himself in front of me, blocked the bullets with his body. Lying in bed, wishing for sleep, I didn't want to, but couldn't help but think of Six. That's what I used to call him, my Uncle Sixto. He called me 8. I hadn't really known him growing up, but after my dad died, he started coming around a few days every week. Not that we said much to each other. He'd come over and turn on the TV, smoke a blunt, drink. He'd let me drink with him, passed me the blunt. I never liked getting high. Shit just made me feel hella nervous, made me think too much about the speed of the beat of my heart. Was it too slow? Would it stop? Or was it too fast? Would I effing attack? I liked to drink though. After the shooting, Junior stayed out even more than usual. Claimed he was gonna F those guys up, that it meant war, but Junior was all talk. Sometimes me and Six would be watching TV in the afternoon, and the sun would come in through one of the bullet holes. One of the ones in the wall, and I could see the effing dust in the room flow in a bullet hole-shaped ray of light. My mom had replaced the windows and the door, but she hadn't bothered to fill the holes in the wall. Hadn't bothered or didn't want to. After a few months, Sixto stopped coming over and Fina told me to spend more time with my cousins, Manny and Daniel. The mom had called Fina to ask for help. That made me wonder if my mom had called Fina to ask for help after my dad died. And was that why Six came over? Fina had a hand in everything. She was the only one trying to keep us all together, keep us all from falling through the holes life opened up out of nowhere, like those bullets that ripped through the house that night. Manny and Daniel's dad had lost his job and had been going harder at the drinking. At first, I went over out of duty. You did what Fina told you to do. But then I got close with Manny and Daniel. Not that we talked. Mostly we played video games together in the basement. But we spent almost all our free time together when we weren't in school, and it turns out that who you spend time with ends up mattering more than what you do with that time. One day, we were down in the basement when we heard a noise upstairs. Manny and Daniel looked at each other like they knew what it was, and like they didn't want it to be that. Manny bolted from the couch. I ran behind him. When we got upstairs, the first thing we saw was our dad throwing their mom against the wall, then slapping her once with each hand. She pushed him and he laughed. I'll never forget that laugh. And then how Manny took that laugh right the effing out of him. Manny came up from behind his dad and pulled back on his neck like he was trying to rip all the breath he'd ever taken out of him. Manny was bigger than his dad, and he pulled back hard. They stumbled backwards into the living room. I heard Daniel coming up the stairs. I opened the door and put my hand up like, stay down here. Then I heard the sound of glass crashing. Manny and his dad had gone through the glass table in the living room. In their struggle, Manny had managed to turn them around, so he landed on top of his dad on the glass table. Manny was cut a little on his arms, but his dad was all sliced up. He got knocked out too. I thought he was effing dead. Help me get him to the car, Manny said to me, and I did. I picked his dad up from under his arms. On our way out the front door, when I was almost out the door, with Manny on the other end holding his dad's legs, I saw Daniel and Aunt Sylvia watching us carry him out the house. Something about them seeing us, crying because they wanted him gone, crying because they wanted him to be wanted him back the way he used to be. That shit killed me. We dropped their dad off in the front of Highland, where the ambulances come in. Left him on the ground, honked the horn once real long, then drove off. I was around more after that. We didn't even know if we killed him or not. We didn't even know if we killed him or not until a week later. The doorbell rang, and it was like Manny knew, like he felt it. He tapped my knee twice and sprang up. At the front door, we stood there and didn't have to say a thing. We stood there like, what? What the F do you want? Go. His face was all bandaged. He looked like an effing mummy. I felt bad for him. Sylvia came up behind us with a trash bag full of his clothes, yelling, move! So we moved out of the way, and she threw the bag at him. Manny closed the door, and that was that. It was around that time that me and Manny stole our first ride. We took Bart to downtown Oakland. There were certain pockets of uptown where people had nice cars, and people like me and Manny could be seen without someone calling the cops right away. Manny wanted a Lexus. Just nice enough, but not too nice. Not noticeable either. We found a black one with a gold lettering and tinted windows. I don't know how long Manny had been stealing cars, but he got in quick with a coat hanger, then with a screwdriver in the ignition. The inside smelled like cigarettes and leather. We rode down East 14th, which had been International, but shit got so bad all up and down International that they changed the name to something without the history. I rummaged through the glove box and found some Newports. We both thought it was weird for someone we assumed was white to be smoking Newports. Neither one of us smoked cigarettes, but we smoked those, blasted the radio, and didn't say a single word to each other the whole ride. There was something about that ride, though. It was like we could put on someone else's clothes, live in someone else's house, drive their car, smoke their smokes, even though it was just for an hour or two. Once we made it deep enough east, we knew we'd be fine. We parked it at the Coliseum BART station parking lot and walked back to Manning's house high on having gotten away with it so easily. The system scared you so that you thought you had to follow the rules. But we were learning that shit was freaking flimsy. You could do what you could do. You could do what you could get away with. That's where it was at. I was at Manning's house when Sylvia called down into the basement to tell me Fina was on the phone. She never called me there. Daniel took the controller from me before I went up. He killed them, Fina said. I couldn't even understand what she meant. Your Uncle Sixto, she said. He crashed his car with both of them in it. They're dead. I ran out the front door, got on my bike, and hurried F home. My heart was some crazy mix of F no F this, and like it had slipped out of me. Before I got to Fina, I thought, well then Six better be effing dead too. Fina was standing in her doorway. I jumped off my bike in one motion and ran inside the house like I was gonna find someone else there. My mom and brother, Sixto. I had to believe it was a joke or any effing thing other than what Fina's face was telling me in that doorway that it was. Where's he? They take him to jail, downtown. What the F? My knees gave out to me. I was on the ground, not crying, but like I couldn't move, and I got real effing sad for a minute. But then that shit did a 180, and I yelled some shit I don't remember. Fina didn't do or say anything when I got back on my bike and left. I can't remember what I did or where I went that night. Sometimes you just gotta go, and you're gone. After the funerals, I moved in with Fina. She told me Sixto was out. They gave him DUI. He lost his license, but they let him go. Fina told me not to go see him. Never to go see him. To let it be. I didn't know what I would do if I went there, but there wasn't shit she could do to stop me. On the way over to his house, I stopped in the parking lot of a liquor store I knew wouldn't check my ID. I went in and bought a fifth of E&J. That's what Six drank. I didn't know what I meant to do going over there. In my mind, I had it like I would get him drunk and effing beat the shit out of him. Maybe kill him. But I knew it wouldn't be like that. Six had his ways about him. Not that I wasn't mad enough to do it. I just didn't know what it would be like. On my way out of the store, I heard a mourning dove somewhere nearby. The sound gave me goosebumps. Not the cold kind, and not the good kind either. We had mourning doves in our backyard for as long as I can remember, under the back porch. My dad once said to me, when we were in the backyard trying to fix my bike, he said, the sound is so sad, you almost want to kill them for it. Once my dad was gone, I felt like I heard them more, or it was just that they reminded me of him and his attitude towards most kinds of sadness. I didn't want to feel sad then either. It was like those effing birds were making me feel it. So I went into the backyard with a BB gun I got for Christmas when I was 10. One of them was facing the wall, like he'd been singing toward me inside. I shot it in the back of the head and then in the back twice. The bird flew up right away, its feathers writhing and falling slowly while it flapped in a flash of crooked downward spirals. It landed in a next-door neighbor's yard. I waited to hear if it would move. I thought about how it would have felt. The sting in the head and the back after it flew up over me. I didn't feel even a little bit sorry for the bird because of how sad it made me feel ever since my dad got shot. When I had to look down and see my dad's eyes blink in disbelief, my dad looking back up at me like he was the one who was sorry. Sorry that I had to see him go down like that. with no control over the wild possibilities reality threw into our lives. At Six's house, I knocked on his door. "Hey, 6A," I said. I backed away from the house, looked at the upstairs window. I heard footsteps, loud and slow. When Six opened the door, he didn't even look at me or wait for me to say or do anything. He just walked back into the house. I followed him to his bedroom, found a place to sit on an old office chair he kept in the corner. I was surprised to find it empty considering the state of the rest of the room. Clothes, bottles, trash, and a light sprinkling of tobacco, weed, and ash all over everything. He was hella effing sad seeming, and I hated that I wanted to say something to make him feel better. That was the first time I saw it different, like felt for him, and how he must have felt about what he did. "I got us a bottle," I said. "Let's go in the back." I heard him get up and follow me as I walked out of the room. Six had a few chairs back there in the overgrown, crooked fenced yard, between two fruitless orange and lemon trees that I remember used to be full. We drank for a while in silence. I watched him smoke a blunt. I kept expecting him to start the conversation, saying something about what happened to my mom and brother, but he didn't. Six lit up a cigarette. "When we were kids," Sixto said, "me and your dad, we used to sneak up into your grandma's closet. She had an altar set up in there, all sorts of crazy shit on the altar. Like, she had a skull. It was the skull of what they called little people. She told us the little people sold babies and kids. She had jars full of powders and different kinds of herbs and stones. One time she caught me and your dad in there. She told your dad to go home. He ran like hell. She can get pretty crazy in her eyes. They go all dark, like she keeps this darker pair behind the green ones you usually see. I had that little skull in my hand. She told me to put it down. She told me I had something in me and I wasn't gonna be able to get out this time around. She told me I could handle it like a man, die with it. But that I could also share it with family. I could give it away over time, even to strangers. It was some old, dark, leftover thing that stayed with our family. Some people get diseases passed down in their genes. Some people get red hair, green eyes. We got this old thing that hurts real effing bad. Makes you mean. That's what you got. That's what your grandpa had in him. Be a man." She told me, "Keep it to yourself." Sixto picked up the bottle, took a deep pull from it. I looked at Six, looked at the eyes to see if he expected me to say anything. Then he dropped the bottle in the grass and stood up. Wow, this is a long. Okay. I couldn't believe he hadn't brought up my mom and brother. Or was that what he was trying to get at? Was this some long explanation for why all that shit happened? Why all the shit that happened to our family happened the way it did? "Let's go," he said to me, like we'd just been talking about going somewhere. He brought me to his basement. He pulled out a wooden box that looked like a toolbox. He said it was his medicine box. "You're gonna have to help me out here," he said, his words dragging a little behind. He pulled out a dry plant with red rope tied around it. He lit it. The smell and smoke were thick. It smelled like musk and earth and fina. I didn't know anything about ceremony, whatever he was doing, but I knew we shouldn't have been drunk for it. "This comes from a long way back," Six said, and poured some powder into his hands. Then he gestured for me to move my head closer, as if to see it better. Then he took a deep breath and blew it all in my face. It was thick as sand, and some got in my mouth, up my nose. I choked and kept blowing out my nose like a dog. "We got bad blood in us," Sixto said. "Some of these wounds get passed down. Same with what we owe. We shouldn't be brown. All that white you see that you got on your skin, we gotta pay for what we done to our own people." Sixto's eyes were closed. His head bent down a little. "Fuck this shit. Oops. F this shit, Six." I said through a cough, then stood up. Sit down, Six said, with a tone he'd never used with me before. It's not all bad. It's power, too. I sat down, but he stood right back up. I'm effing going. I sat down, but then stood right back up. I'm effing going. I said, sit down. Six blew on that plant again. The smoke rose thick. I felt sick right away. Weak. I made it out to the front of the house, got on my bike, and rode to Fina's. When I woke up the next day, Fina came in and shook her car keys at me. Get up, let's go, she said. I was still pretty tired, but the fever had broken. I thought we were maybe going to get groceries. When we got past Castro Valley, I knew it wasn't groceries or any kind of errand. We just kept driving through the hills with all those windmills. I fell asleep looking at one of them that looked like a coin from Mario Brothers. When I woke up, we were in a field with orchids on either side of it. Fina was on top of the hood of the car. She was looking down at something. I opened my door, and when I did, I saw Fina's hand wave me back, so I sat down without closing the door. Through the windshield, I saw my grandma get onto her knees and yank something with a thread or a fishing line, something I couldn't see, until the creature came scrambling up on the windshield. Get his fur! Get some of his fur! Fina yelled at me, but I couldn't move. I just stared at it. What the F was that? A raccoon? No. And then Fina was on top of the thing. It was black with a white stripe that went from its nose to the back of its head, to the back of its neck. The thing was trying to bite and claw her. But she had her hand on its back, and it couldn't grip the metal hood. When it seemed to calm down, she lifted it up by its neck with a fishing line. Come get some of its fur, she said. How? I said. Rip its effing fur off with your hands, Fina said. That was enough to get me going. I got out of the car and tried to get behind the thing, but it was onto me. I swiped twice, but didn't want to get bit. Then on the third try, I pulled a big clump from its side. Now get back in the car, Fina said, and got to her feet. She let the thing down the ground. She walked with it farther into the field and then the orchid at the edge of the field. When she got back into the car, I was just sitting there with my hand up in a fist, holding the clump of fur. Fina pulled out the leather bag with beadwork and fringes on it, opened it, and gestured for me to put the fur inside. What was that? I said once we were on the road. Badger. Why? I'm gonna set up a box for you. What? We're gonna make you a medicine box. Oh, I said, like that was all the explanation I needed. We drove for a while in silence. Then Fina looked over at me. Long time ago, they didn't have a name for the sun. She pointed up to the sun, which was in front of us. They couldn't decide if it was a man or a woman or what. All the animals met about it, and a badger came out of a hole in the ground and called out the name, but as soon as he did, he ran. The other animals came after him. That badger went underground and stayed there. He was afraid they would punish him for naming it. Fina flipped on her blinker and switched lanes to pass a slow truck in the right lane. Some of us got this feeling stuck inside all the time, like we've done something wrong, like we ourselves are something wrong, like who we are deep inside, that thing we want to name but can't. It's like we're afraid we'll be punished for it, so we hide. We drink alcohol because it helps us feel like we can be ourselves and not be afraid, but we punish ourselves with it. The thing we most don't want has a way of landing right on top of us. That badger's medicine's the only thing that stands a chance at helping. You gotta learn how to stay down there, way deep down inside yourself, unafraid. I turned my head, looked down at the gray streak of road. It hit me somewhere in the middle of the chest. All that she'd said was true. It hit me in the middle, where it all comes together like a knot. Six have a box? I said, even though I knew. You know he does. Do you help him make it? That boy never let me help him make anything, she said, her voice breaking. She wiped her tear. He thinks he can make it all up himself, but look where that got him. I've been meaning to tell you, I went over there to see him. How did he seem? Fina asked real quick, like she'd been waiting for me to bring it up. He was alright, but we drank. And then he brought me to the basement, started talking about giving me some shit, lighting this plant in a shell, and then he blew some powder stuff in my face. How'd you feel? Like I want to effing kill him? For real. Why? What do you mean, why? He didn't do it on purpose, Fina said. He's lost. He effed up. So did your brother. Six was part of that too. So, we all have fun. It's how we come back from it that matters. I don't know what the F I'm supposed to do then. I can't get back to him. I can't get back to them. I can't get them back. I don't know what the F any of this is about. You're not supposed to, she said, and rolled down her window. It was getting hot. I rolled mine down too. That's the way this whole thing is set up, she said. You're not even supposed to know. Not all the way. That's what makes the whole thing work the way it does. We can't know. That's what makes us keep going. I wanted to say something but couldn't. I didn't know what to say. It seemed both right and like the wrongest shit possible. I stayed quiet the rest of the car ride and then for weeks after that. And she let me. Okay, let me get a quick drink of water. Okay. Okay. Let's see. I think I'll go until the end of this Thomas Frank guy. Oh shit, he's long. I'll get to the powwow. I think I can get there. Okay. Daniel Gonzalez. The guys lost their shit when I showed them the gun, pushed each other, and laughed like they had done since forever ago. Everything got so effing serious after Manny died, which it should have, but I'm not saying it shouldn't have. Which it should have. I'm not saying it shouldn't have, but he would have loved to see them like that. He would have loved the gun too. It was a real gun, as real as any gun. But it was white and plastic, and I printed it from a 3D printer in my room, which is the basement, which used to be Manny's room. I still can't think of him as gone. For now, Manny's not here or there. He's in the middle of the middle, where you can only be when you can't be anywhere. The gun only took 3 hours to print. My mom made tacos for the guys while they watched the Raiders game. I stayed downstairs and watched the gun spool out in layers. When they came down, we watched the last of it get printed in silence. I knew they wouldn't know what to think. That's why I had a YouTube video pulled up to show them. A 30-second time lapse of a guy 3D printing and firing a gun. Once they saw that, that's when they all lost their shit. They yelled and pushed at each other like they were kids again. Like it used to be over simpler shit like video games. Like when we used to all night Madden tournaments. Like when we used to have all night Madden tournaments and someone would win at 4 in the morning and we'd all be loud and my dad would come down with that little metal bat he kept in his bed. It was the bat he taught us to hit when we were younger, an aluminum bat. And he'd hit us with that shit too. That same bat we got for free at that A's game where they were giving them away and we showed up early to be sure to get one. Manny wouldn't like that Octavio came over so much after he died. So wait. I mean, in a big way, it was Octavio's fault. But he's our cousin, and him and Manny had become like brothers. All three of us had. It's true, Octavio shouldn't have run his mouth at that party. For a while, I hated him for it. Blamed him too. But he kept coming back around, making sure we were okay, me and my mom. Then the more I got thinking about it, it wasn't all on him. Manny's the one who effed that kid up. It was on us, on all of us, really. We turned our heads, looked the other way when Manny effed that kid up so bad on the front lawn, the blood stained brown on the yellow glass there until I got the mower out and cut it. And then, when it was good, when money came in before Manny died, we didn't ask where it was coming from. We took the TV and the random cash he left on the kitchen table in envelopes. We allowed the shit in and only wanted it out when it took him from us. I knew they believed in the white gun for real when I picked it up and pointed it at them. They flinched, put their hands up. Not Octavio though. He told me to put it down. There was no bullets in the gun, but I hadn't felt in control for so long. I know guns are stupid, but that doesn't mean they don't make you feel in control when you're holding one. Octavio pulled the gun out of my hands. He looked around the barrel, pointed it at us. That's when it was my turn to get scared. Octavio holding it made it even more real. Made the white of it creepy, like some plastic message from the future about shit getting into the wrong hands. After the guys left that night, I decided to write my brother an email. I'd help him set it up. A Gmail account. Manny barely used it, but sometimes he wrote me. And when he did, he said shit he never would have said in real life. That's what was cool about it. I opened my Gmail and replied to the last email my brother sent. No matter what happens, you know I'll always be here for you. He was talking about fights he was getting in with our mom. She kept threatening to kick him out after he beat that kid up. The cops had come. Way too late. But they'd come, ask questions. She could sense shit was getting more serious. Attention was building in him. I could feel it too, but didn't know what to say. It was like he'd been moving toward that bullet, toward the front yard, way before he got there. I scrolled down to reply. Hey brother, damn, I know you're not there, but writing you at your email with that last message up there, it feels like you're still here. Being around the guys feels like it too. You must be wondering what I've been up to. Maybe you see, maybe you don't. If you do, you must be like, what the F? 3D printed gun? Shit, I felt the same way when I first saw it, just laughing like a crazy person when it came out. And I know you wouldn't approve. I'm sorry, but we need the money. Mom lost her job. After you died, she just stayed in bed. I couldn't get her out. I don't know where rent's coming from next month. We'll get an extra month if we get evicted, but shit, we've been in this house our whole lives. Your pictures are still up. I still have to see you everywhere in here. So we're not just gonna go. We've been here our whole lives. We don't have anywhere to go. You know what's funny? I'm all like street and shit in real life, but online I don't talk like that. Like I am now. so it feels weird to. Online, I try to sound smarter than I am. I mean, I choose what I type carefully, because that's all people know about me. What I type, what I post, it's pretty weird on there. Here, the way you don't know who people are. You just get their avatar names, some profile picture. But if you post cool shit, say cool shit, people like you. Did I tell you about the community I got into? The name of the place. The online community is Wundercode. It's effing Norwegian. You probably don't know what code is. I got way into it after you died. I didn't feel like going out or going to school or nothing. When you spend enough time online, if you're looking, you can find some cool shit. I don't see it as that much different from what you did. Figuring out a way around a big effing bully system that only gives those that come from money or power the means to make it. I learned from YouTube how to code. Shit like JavaScript, Python, SQL, Ruby, C++, HTML, Java, PHP. Sounds like a different language, right? It is. And you get better by putting in the time and taking to heart what all the MFs had to say about your abilities on the forums. You have to know how to tell the difference, whose criticism to take and whose to ignore. Long story short, though, is that I got hooked into this community, and I realized I could get whatever I wanted, not drugs and shit. I mean, I could, but that's not what I want. The 3D printer I got was itself printed by a 3D printer. No shit. A 3D printer printed by a 3D printer. Octavio fronted me the money. Part of what kills me about you being gone is that I never really said anything to you. Even when you emailed me, I didn't even really know how much I wanted to say to you until the day you left. Until I felt that feeling of losing you on the lawn out there. Right on the same spot where that boy's blood stained the grass. But you showed me. I knew how much you loved me. You did shit like how you got me that expensive ass Schwinn. Probably used to be some hipster's bike, but you probably stole it. But still, you stole it from me, and in some ways, that's even better than if you bought it. Especially if it was from one of those white boys trying to take Oakland over the West. You should know they haven't made it to the Deep East yet. Probably never will. Shit's mean out there. But everything from High Street to West Oakland, that shit seems doomed to me. Anyway, I mostly see Oakland from online now. That's where we're all gonna be mostly eventually. Online. That's what I think. We're already kind of moving in that direction if you think about it. We're already like effing androids, thinking and seeing with our phones all the time. You might want to know about some other shit, like what's going on with Mom. She gets out of bed more often now. But she just moves to the TV. She looks at the window a lot too, peeks out the curtains like she's still waiting for you to come home. I know I shouldn't be. I know I should be around her more, but she makes me feel hella sad. The other day, she dropped a votive candle on the kitchen floor. Shit scattered, and she just left it there in pieces. Like shit's broken, but we can't just leave it broken. All out there in the living room, like your picture on the mantle. Shit feels like it cuts me whenever I see it. How you graduated from high school, and we all thought shit would be okay from then on because you did. After you died, I had this dream. It started off, I was on an island. I could barely see that there was another island across the way. There was hella fog in the way, but I knew I had to get over there, so I swam over. The water was warm and really blue, not gray or green like the bay. When I got over to the other side, I found you in a cave. You had all these effing pitbull puppies in your shopping cart. You were duplicating them in the cart. The pitbulls. You were handing me the puppies as they duplicated in your shopping cart. You were making all those pit bulls for me. So when I first heard about this 3D printer that could print a version of itself, I thought of you and the pit bulls. The idea about the gun came after. I learned to be okay with Octavio. He started talking to me like I wasn't just your little brother. He asked me if I needed work. I told him about Mom being in bed all the time and he cried. He wasn't even drunk. I need to figure out a way to support me and Mom. I know you wanted me to get an education go to college, get a good job, but I want to be able to help right now, not in 4 years, not owing hella money just to work in an office somewhere. So when I got to thinking about how I might help, I'd read. So then I got to thinking about how I might help. I'd read about these guns you could print. I didn't know then what they might be used for. I got the .cad file, the G code. After I got the printer, I printed the gun. First thing I printed. Then I made sure it would work. I rode my bike over near the Oakland airport. That spot you took me to one time when you could see the planes come down close. I figured I could fire one off there and no one would hear it. A big-ass Southwestern 747 came down and shot a bullet into the water. It hurt my hand and the gun got a little hot, but it worked. Now I've got 6 of these pieces. Octavio said he'd give me $5,000 for all of them. He's got something going. All my shit's untraceable, so I'm not worried about the government coming after me. I am worried about what the guns will do, where they'll end up, who they might hurt or kill. But we're family. I know Octavio can be a mean MF, so could you. But here it is, Manny. They said they're gonna rob a effing powwow. Crazy, right? Shit sounded effing stupid to me at first. Then it had me effed up because of Dad. Remember he used to always tell us we're Indian? But we didn't believe him. It was like we were waiting for him to prove it. Doesn't matter, because of what he did to Mom. To us, that piece of shit. Deserved what he got. He had it coming. Long time coming. He would have killed Mom. Probably you too, if you hadn't beat his ass. I only wish I had a white gun to give you then. So let them rob a powwow. Whatever. Dad never taught us anything about being Indian. What's that got to do with us? Octavio said they could make $50,000. He said he'd give me another $5 if they pulled it off. As for me, I mostly spent my time online. I'm gonna graduate from high school. My grades are alright. I don't really like anyone in school. My only friends are your old friends, but I don't really care about me except that I can make them guns now. Except Octavio. I know how much it all messed him up. You gotta know that. You can't think it didn't F him up, right? Anyways, I'll keep writing you here. I'll keep you updated. It's anyone's guess what's gonna happen. For the first time in a long time, I got a little hope in my chest. Not that it's gonna get better, just that it's gonna change. Sometimes that's all there is. Because that means that there's something going on somewhere inside all of us, all of it, all that turning the world is always doing. That means it was never supposed to stay the same heat. Miss you, Daniel. Octavio brought me the first $5,000 the day after I showed him all the guns. I left $3,000 of it on the kitchen table in a blank envelope like Manny used to do. With the other $2,000, I brought a drone and a pair of virtual reality goggles. I've been wanting a drone ever since I found out about the powwow. I knew Octavio wouldn't let me go, but I wanted to see it to make sure it went alright. Otherwise, it was on me. And if shit went wrong, that was it. Octavio's plan was all I had, with my mom like she was. Decent drones are affordable now, and I read that flying one with a camera and live feed with VR goggles felt like flying. The drone I got had a 3-mile range and could stay in the air for 25 minutes. The camera on it shot 4K resolution. The Coliseum was only a mile away from my house on 72nd. I flew it from my backyard. I didn't want to waste any time, so I went straight up, about 50 feet in the air, then straight over the BART station. The thing could really move. I was in it, my eyes, the VR goggles. Out in the back of the center field, I went straight up and saw a guy pointing at me from the bleachers. I flew closer to him. He was a maintenance worker, holding out a trash grabber and a trash bag. The old guy got his binoculars out. I went even closer. What could he do? Nothing. I flew almost all the way up to the guy's face, and he tried to reach out the drone. He got mad. I realized I was messing with him. I shouldn't have. I pulled away and dropped back down to the field. I headed towards the right field wall, then down the foul line back to the infield. At first base, I noticed the drone had 10 minutes of battery life left. I wasn't about to lose $1,000 out there, but I wanted to finish at home plate. When I got there, just as I was about to turn the drone around, I saw the old guy from the bleachers coming for me. He was on the field and pissed, like he was gonna grab the drone and slam it to the ground. Step on it. I backed up, but forgot to rise. Luckily, I'd been playing video games for so long, enough that my panicked brain was hardwired to perform well under pressure. For a second, I was close enough to count the wrinkles in the old guy's face. He managed to hit it, which almost caused the drone to come down, but I rose, went straight up quickly, like 20 or 40 feet in seconds. I cleared the walls, came straight home to my backyard. At home, I watched the video over and over, especially the part at the end where the guy almost got me. Shit was exciting. Real. Like I'd been there. I was about to call Octavia to tell him about it when I heard a scream upstairs. My mom. Ever since Manny got shot, I'd felt a constant state of worry, half expecting some bad shit to happen all the time. I ran up to the stairs, and when I got to the top, I opened the door and saw my mom holding the envelope, flipping through cash with her fingers. Did she think Manny left it? Like he made it back somehow? Or like he was still there? Did she think this was a sign? I was about to tell her it was me and Octavia when she came over and hugged me. She pulled my head into her chest, just kept saying, "Sorry, I'm so sorry." I thought she meant about how she'd been in bed, how she'd given up. But then, as she kept saying it, I took it to mean how everything had happened to us, how much we lost, how much we'd once been together as a family, how good it'd once been. I tried to tell her it was okay. I kept repeating, "It's okay, Mom," one for each of her sorries. And then pretty soon I found myself saying sorry back. And we both said sorry back and forth until we started to cry and shake. Okay, I will do blue, and then I will end the stream for now. Hopefully do a part 2 soon, but my throat's starting to hurt. Okay, finally. Look at that. Oops, it's hard to see. We've made really good progress. Okay. Give me a second. I'll be right back. Okay. Here we go. Oh shoot. My pen ruler. Okay. Blue. Paul and I got married Teepee way. Some people call it the Native American Church, or Peyote way. We call peyote medicine because it is. I still mostly believe that in the same way I believe most anything can be medicine. Paul's dad married us in a teepee ceremony 2 years ago, in front of that fireplace. That's when he gave me my name. I was adopted by white people. I needed an Indian name. In Chien, it's Ota Tavo but I don't know how to say it right. It means the blue vapor of life. Paul's dad started calling me Blue for short, and it stuck. Up until then, I'd been Crystal. Almost all I know about my birth mom is that her name is Jackie Redfeather. Uh-oh. My adoptive mom told me on my 18th birthday what my birth mom's name is, and that she's Chilean. I knew I wasn't white, but not all the way, because while my hair is dark and my skin is brown, when I look in the mirror, I see myself from the inside out, and inside I feel as white as a long white pill-shaped throw pillow my mom always made me keep on my bed, even though I'd never use it. I grew up in Morega, which is a suburb just on the other side of the Oakland Hills, which made me even more Oakland Hills than the Oakland Hills kids. So I grew up with money, a pool in the backyard, an overbearing mother, an absent father. I brought home outdated racist insults from school like it was the 1950s. All Mexican slurs, of course, since people where I grew up don't know natives still exist. That's how much those Oakland hills separate us from Oakland. Those hills bend time. I didn't do anything about what my mom told me on my 18th birthday right away. I sat on it for years. I kept on feeling white while being treated like any other brown person wherever I went. I got a job in Oakland at the Indian Center, and that helped me feel more like I belonged somewhere. Then one day, I was looking in Craigslist and saw that my tribe in Oklahoma was hiring a youth services coordinator. That's what I was doing in Oakland. So I applied, not really thinking I would get it. But I got it and moved out to Oklahoma a few months later. Paul was my boss then. We moved in together just a month after I got there. Super unhealthy from the get-go. But part of why it went so fast is because of the ceremony, because of that medicine. We sat up every weekend. Sometimes it was just me, Paul, and his dad if no one else showed up. Paul took care of the fire and brought in water for Paul's dad. You don't know the medicine unless you know the medicine. We prayed for the whole world to get better, and felt it could every morning, but when we came out of the teepee. We prayed for the whole world to get better and felt it could every morning when we came out of the teepee. The world just spins, of course, but it all made perfect sense for a while. And there I could evaporate and drift up and out to the crisscross teepee poles with the smoke and prayers. I could be gone and all the way there at once. But after Paul's dad died, everything I've been praying about all this time got turned upside down and emptied on top of me in the form of Paul's fists. After the first time and the second, after I stopped counting, I stayed and kept staying. I slept in the same bed with him, got up for work every morning like it was nothing. I'd been gone since that first time he laid hands on me. I applied for a job back where I used to work in Oakland. It was the position of events coordinator for the powwow. I had no experience in coordinating events outside of the annual youth summer camps, but they knew me there, so I got the job. I watched my shadow grow long, then flatten on the highway as the car flies by without slowing or seeming to notice me. Not that I wanted slowing or notice. I kick a rock and hear it ding against a can or some hollow thing in the grass. I pick up my pace, and as I do, a hot gust of air and the smell of gas blow by me with the passing of a big truck. This morning, when Paul said he needed the car all day, I decided to take it as a sign. I told him I'd get a ride with Geraldine. She's a substance abuser counselor where I work. When I got out the door, I knew everything I left in that house, I'd be leaving for good. Most of it was easy to leave, but my medicine box, the one his dad had made for me, my fan, my gourd, my cedar bag, my shawl, these I'll have to learn to leave over time. I didn't see Geraldine all day and not after work either, but I'd made my decision. I headed to the highway with nothing on me but my phone and a box cutter I took from the front desk before I left. The plan is to get to OKC, to the Greyhound station. The job doesn't start for a month. I just need to make it back to Oakland. A car slows and stops ahead of me. I see red brake lights bleed through my vision of the night. I turn around in panic, then hear Geraldine. So turn to see her old-ass beige Cadillac her grandma gave her for graduating from high school. When I get in the car, Geraldine gives me a look like, what the F? Her brother Hector is laid out in the back seat, passed out. He okay? I say. Blue, she says, scolding me with my name. Geraldine's last name is Brown. Names are colors is what we have in common. What? Where are we going? I say to her. He drank too much, she said, and he's on pain meds. I don't want him to throw up and die in his sleep on our living room floor, so he's riding with us. Us? Why didn't you just ask me for a ride? You told Paul? He called you? I say, yeah, I was already home. I had to leave early for this effort, Geraldine says, pointing with her thumb to the back seat. I told Paul you had to stay late with a youth waiting for an auntie to show up, but that we were leaving soon. Thank you, I said. So you're going, she says? Yeah, I say. Back to Oakland? Yeah. Okay, see Greyhound? Yeah. Well, shit, Geraldine says. I know, I say. And then our saying this makes the silence we drive in for a while. Oh yeah, okay. I see what I think is a human skeleton leaned against a barbed wire wood pole fence. Did you see that, I say? What? I don't know. But people think they see stuff out here all the time, Geraldine says. You know that part of the highway you were walking? Up north a ways, just past Weatherford. There's a town there called Dead Woman Crossing. Why is it called that? Some crazy white lady killed and beheaded this other white lady, and some teenagers go over to where it happened. The woman who got killed had her 14-month old baby with her when she got killed. The baby made it out okay. They say you can hear that woman calling out for her baby at night. Yeah, right, I say. Ghosts aren't what you have to worry about here, Geraldine says. I brought a box cutter from work, I say to Geraldine, and pull out my knife jacket and slide the plastic clip up to show her the blade, like she doesn't know what a box cutter is. This is where they get us, Geraldine says. Safer out here than at home, I say. You could do worse than Paul. I should go back then? Do you know how many Indian women go missing every year? Geraldine says. Do you? I say. No, but I heard a high number once, and the real number is probably even higher. I saw something too. Someone posted about women up in Canada. It's not just Canada. It's all over. There's a secret war on women going on in the world. Secret even to us. Secret even though we know it, Geraldine says. She rolled down her window and lights a smoke. I light one too. Every single place we get stuck out on road, she says. They take us and leave us out here, leave us to dim to bone, and then get all the way forgotten. She flicks her cigarette out the window. She only likes a cigarette for the first few drags. I always think of the men who do that kind of thing, like, I know they're out there somewhere. And Paul, she says, you know what he's going through. He's not who we're talking about. You're not wrong, but the difference between the men doing it and your average violent drunk is not as big as you think. Then you've got the sick pigs in high places who pay for our bodies on the black market with Bitcoin. Someone way up at the top who gets off on listening to recorded screams of women like us being ripped apart, knocked against the cement floors in hidden rooms. Jesus, I say. What? You don't think it's real? The people who run this shit are real-life monsters. The people you never see. What they want is more and more. And when that isn't enough, they want what can't be gotten easily. The recorded screams of dying Indian women. Maybe even a taxidermied torso. A collection of Indian woman heads. There's probably some floating in tanks with blue lights just behind them in a secret office on the top floor of an office building in Midtown Manhattan. You've given this some thought, I say. I meet with a lot of women, she says, trapped by violence. They have kids to think about. They just can't leave with the kids, no money, no relatives. I have to talk to these women about options. I have to talk into them going I have to talk them into going to shelters. I had to hear about when the men accidentally go too far. So no, I'm not telling you that you should go back. I'm taking you to the bus station. But I'm saying you shouldn't be out here on the side of the highway at night. I'm saying you should have texted me, asked me for a ride. I'm sorry, I say. I thought I'd see you after work. I feel tired and a little annoyed. I always get this way. I always get this way after a cigarette. I don't know why I smoke them. I yawn a big yawn, then lean my head against the window. I wake up to the blink blur of a struggle. Hector has his arms around Geraldine. He's reaching for the wheel. We're swerving, no longer on the highway. We're on Reno Avenue, just across the bridge over the Oklahoma River, not far from the Greyhound station. Geraldine's trying to get Hector off of her. I slap Hector on the head over and over with both hands to try to stop him. He grunts like he doesn't know where he is or what he's doing, or like he's woken up from a bad dream, or like he's still having it. We swerved hard left, then harder right, and go over the curb, over some grass, and then into the Motel 6 parking lot, right into the front of a truck parked there. The glove compartment comes in and crushes my knees. My hands fly towards the windshield. The seatbelt pulls up, then cuts into me. We stop and my vision blurs. The world spins a little. I look over and see that Geraldine's face is a bloody mess. Her bare airbag is out and it looks like it might have broken her nose. I hear the back door open and see Hector fall out of the car, then get up and stumble away. I turn my phone on to call an ambulance, and as soon as I do, I see that Paul's calling again. I see his name, his picture. He's in front of his computer at work, wearing that I'm a hella hard Indian dude look, with his chin lifted. I pick up because I'm this close to the Greyhound. He can't do anything to me now. What the fuck would you want? We just got in a wreck, I say. Where are you at? He says. I can't talk. I'm calling an ambulance, I say. What are you doing in OKC? He says. My stomach drops. Geraldine looks at me and mouths, hang up. I don't know how you know that, but I'm hanging up now. I say. I'm almost there, Paul says. I hang up. Did you tell him where we are? No, I did not effing tell him where we are, Geraldine says, and wipes her nose with her shirt. Then how the F does he know we're here? I say more to myself than to her. Shit, what? Hector must have texted him. Hector's all effed up right now. I gotta go after him. What about your car? Are you okay? I'll be fine. Get to the bus station. Hide in the bathroom until the bus is ready to leave. What are you gonna do? Find my brother. Convince him to not keep doing whatever the F it is he thinks he's doing. How long has he been back? Only a month, she says, and he gets deployed again next month. I didn't even think we were still over there. I side hug her. Go, she says. I don't let go. Go, she says, and pushes me away. My knees are stiff and sore, but I run. The Greyhound sign stretches up like a beacon, but the lights are out. Is it too late? What time is it? I look at my phone. It's only 9. I'm okay. I look back and see Geraldine's car where we left it. No cops yet. I could call and wait for the police. Tell them what happened. Tell them about Paul. The station is empty. I go straight to the bathroom. On my feet, and I crouch on top of the toilet in one of the stalls. I try to order my ticket on my phone, but he calls. I can't order because his calls keep interrupting me. I see a text on the top of my screen and try to ignore it, but can't. You hear? The text says. I know he means the bus station. He must have seen Geraldine's car, seeing how close the Greyhound station was. We're at a bar around the corner from where we crashed. I text. Bullshit, he texts back. Then he calls. I press the top button of my phone in. He's probably there, here. I walk through the bus station. He's looking for the light of my phone, listening for its vibration. He won't come into the bathroom. I turn to my vibrate on my phone off. I hear the door to the bathroom open. My heart is too big and fast to hold in my chest. I take a deep breath, as quiet and as slow as I can. Still standing on the toilet seat, I duck my head to see who came in. I see women's shoes. It's an old woman. Big, beige, white. Velcroed shoes stepped into the stall next to mine. Paul calls again. I press the top button again. I see a text come in. Come on, baby, come out. Where are you going? The text says. My legs are tired. My knees throb from the crash. I get down from the toilet. I pee and try to think of a text that might lead him away from here. I told you we're down the street. Come down. We'll have a drink. We'll talk this through, okay? I text him. The door of the bathroom opens again. I drop my head down again. Fuck. His shoes. I get back up on the toilet. Blue. Blue? His voice booms in the stall. This is the woman's room, sir. The woman in the stall next to me says. There's no one here but me. And I know she must have heard me in the next stall when I peed. Sorry, Paul says. There's still too much time before the bus gets here. He'll wait for the lady to leave and come back in. I hear the door open, then close again. Please, I whisper to the woman. He's after me. And I don't know what I'm asking her to do. What time's your bus leaving, darling? The woman says. 30 minutes, I say. Don't worry. When you get to my age, you can get away with that much time in here. I'll stay with you, she says, and I start to cry. Not loud, not a sob, but I know she can hear me. The snot comes and I sniff in hard so it won't keep coming. Thank you, I say. This kind of man, they're getting worse. I'm going to have to run out, I think. Run to the bus. I carry mace. I've been attacked, robbed more than once. I'm going to Oakland, I say. And then I realize that we're no longer whispering. I wonder if he's at the door. My phone isn't ringing anymore. I'll walk over with you, she says. I order the ticket on my phone. We walk out of the bathroom together. The station is empty. The woman is brown, ethnically ambiguous, and older than I thought even from the shoes. She has those deep wrinkles on her face that seem carved, wooden. She gestures for us to lock arms as we walk. I climb the steps into the bus and the old woman behind me. I show my ticket to the driver on the phone, then turn it off. I walk to the back and slink away down in my seat, take in a deep breath, then let it out, and wait for the bus to start moving. Okay, I'm going to end it there, guys. Thank you for watching, and I'll be sure to continue the stream some other time. Thank you. Bye-bye.